At this time, we will call to order the special call meeting for the mayor and council of the city of Lafayette for April 1st to order. If everyone would, we would begin with an invocation. Dear God, we thank you so much for your love. We thank you for everything that you've done in the past for this city. We thank you for everything that you're doing now and the things that you're going to do in the future. But I know that during difficult times, it seems like we come and we ask you for more. And we're not trying to do it just because of the coronavirus and everything, because there are a lot of needs and things like that. But we do know that there are times in our lives that we all have to look up above to someone like you for some leadership, some guidance, and just to place your hand on this city and this state, in this nation, in this country, to help all of the responders do everything that they can to take care of all of those that are in need, and be prayerful for all of those, not only with the COVID, but their families and the difficult times that they're going through. Amen. Amen. Before we do a roll call, I want to make something clear to everyone involved today. Governor Ivey made some adjustments on a temporary basis for open meeting acts. If you look, we don't want to only be a mayor and council that ask our citizens to do something. We want to try to make sure that we're following proper guidelines with our social distance. We're scattered out today. We have our council members present, but we'll have one by phone in a minute, and that has been approved, that someone can be present by phone and would be allowed to vote. What it's limited to with our Open Meeting Act, it's limited to taking care of business that's necessary for the COVID coronavirus and things that would be deemed essential. And this is something that's very much deemed essential that we're going to be discussing in just a minute, so we'll go into that with more detail. So with this special meeting, we'll ask our clerk if he would to do a roll call.
Councilmember Purdy. Councilmember Thomas. Here. Councilmember Ellis. Here. Councilmember Williams. Here. Councilmember Blasingame. Here. Mayor Moody.
Here. With the roll call being completed, what we're here for today is to discuss resolution number 2020-04-01-01. It's declaring a state of emergency for the city of Lafayette, Alabama. Let me read this state of emergency to you. Whereas President Trump has declared a state of emergency based on the impact of COVID-19 becoming a pandemic event, and whereas the Governor Ivey has also declared a state of emergency as it relates to COVID-19 in the state of Alabama, and whereas the city of Lafayette, Alabama, officials and personnel in partnership with our regional partners have been proactive in beginning around February 10, 2020, addressing the COVID-19 impacts. And whereas the City of Lafayette Council, on the advice of emergency management personnel, determines to immediately take further action in this emergency circumstance on a continuing basis to address the COVID-19 impacts on our city and community, and to further declare a state of emergency in Alabama, in our city here. Whereas it is vital that Lafayette emergency management personnel and other city departments are authorized to expend city funds for additional personnel, supplies, and equipment as needed, so that action can be taken without delay to protect the lives and the safety of our residents and visitors to our city. And whereas COVID-19 poses a serious public health risk to our city, stemming from the beginning of respiratory disease impacting our city services, impacting utility department services, impacting our schools, impacting our businesses, and impacting our industrial corridor. And whereas the extent and level of impact from COVID-19 cannot be determined at present, and City of Lafayette departments need the authority and funding to react promptly and without delay at this critical time. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Lafayette, Alabama, that it hereby declares a state of emergency in Lafayette, Alabama, with the mayor and city departments, with the guidance of the Purchasing Department and Human Resources Department, authorized to expend city funds and use additional personnel hours necessary to respond to the impacts of COVID-19, some known and some unknown, in our city and community. Be it further resolved by the City of Lafayette Council that the mayor, police chief, fire chief, and city departments are to coordinate the work with the Chambers County Emergency Management Agencies and other appropriate agencies. Be it further resolved that the City of Lafayette Council determines this action is required in order to be proactive in continuing the previous work of our officials and personnel in the future. Be it further resolved that the mayor and the city departments are requested and authorized to record the additional expenses incurred in the past and future as a result of the COVID-19 impacts and seek reimbursement to the extent provided and authorized by federal and state laws. Adopted this first day of April 2020, acknowledged and approved by myself as mayor and our city clerk, Lewis Davidson. Do we have a motion to approve Resolution 2020-04-0101, declaring a state of emergency for the city of Lafayette, Alabama?
So moved.
Second.
We do have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye. All opposed? It's a unanimous vote by the mayor and council to declare this as a state of emergency on April the 1st today. I want to take just a second as mayor and on behalf of the council members to make a statement to our citizens and those in the surrounding areas that we represent. I had an interview a few weeks ago with a newspaper, the Lafayette Sun, and I stated that the threat of COVID-19, the coronavirus, was real. I want every one of our citizens to listen very close to what I have to say. COVID-19, the coronavirus, has made it from China to the United States, and it's made it to other parts of the world. In the United States, it's made it from the state of Washington, state of California, all the way across from the west to the east to New York City. It's made it from the north all the way to New Orleans, Alabama. Louisiana. It's made it to Atlanta, Georgia. It's made it to Florida. And yes, it's made it to Alabama. And in Alabama, we look at states like counties like Jefferson County, Birmingham. We look at Madison County, Huntsville. We look at Shelby County, right outside of Birmingham, Chelsea area. And we look at Lee County. In all this time, we have a lot of our citizens and a lot of those that live in the United States who first thought this was something way over in China. And then they thought, oh no, it's in Washington, it's in New York. It's made it to New Orleans now. And then the numbers were what in Alabama? Yes, they were low. A lot of the low numbers in some areas because of the fact of a lack of testing. As there's been more testing, the numbers have gone up. This past week, Chambers County made it to number 5 out of 67 counties with the most cases. We've also made it to a point where we have been at the top for deaths. It's not something that we take lightly here in Lafayette. We have taken extreme measures, like every other city, like every other county, like every other state. There are those that I want to sit here and applaud, but David Ennis one time was on the council and Mac Tucker and going way back in the past, and they said if you're going to start thanking somebody, Mayor said you better be careful because you're going to leave somebody out. And I know I may leave somebody out today. But those that are out there at Lowe's Pharmacy providing curb service are doing a service that cannot be thanked enough. For those that are at our banks who are doing the drive-thru, Those at Piggly Wiggly and Renfro and our dollar stores have adjusted what they're doing. You see petitions and plexiglass and the way that they are trying to provide services. Our lifestyle has not changed much in Lafayette because we're still getting what we want. We're still getting the food and the services, that we need. I had an individual, will not call names, who called me up and said, "Mayor, I don't think you're doing enough for the city of Lafayette. I think you need to close it." I don't mind saying it was an elderly person, and I said, "Let me tell you something." I said, "If you get sick, aren't you going to need medicine from the pharmacy? If someone in your family needs an ambulance to respond," we're talking about COVID-19 today, and we're talking about coronavirus. There are many more issues way before this ever happened. There are people who are getting sick, having heart attacks, having strokes, and having car wrecks and accidents and everything that goes on. So our hospitals are being overwhelmed with what was happening before, and now then you add this to it. So what is each city trying to do? We have changed our way of life in Lafayette, Alabama. Yes, we have. Because it has made it all the way to us here. We are trying to take it very seriously. And this is a plea from myself and everyone on this council, for every one of our citizens to take it seriously. We've talked about social distancing. We've talked about washing hands. We've talked about what individuals could do to limit contact with public. We've talked about masks. We've talked about many different things. The clerk and I have talked about the fact that we started out over a month ago making some changes on a weekly basis. No, that didn't last. It didn't last a day or two because we're making changes a month ago on a daily basis. And now then we're making them hourly. The president is holding daily conferences. I was on a call with Governor Ivey a couple of days ago. One this morning, there'll be another one at 3 o'clock. And each time something is changing. What I'm asking the citizens of Lafayette in this area to do is, there are those who need to work. They need to limit their transportation to work and home and to take care of essentials that are needed to take care of their family. They need to take care of themselves when they're at home and at work so they don't expose anyone else. This is something we cannot see. We don't know, sitting in this room today, who has it, who doesn't have it, who's been exposed, or anything like that. What we do know is this. This is a fact. Limiting your social distance, staying at home as much as you can, and let me say this in Lafayette. Staying at home is not inviting all your friends over to your house or to your location. We are going to be enforcing in this town groups of 10 and gatherings of 10 or more to be dispersed. It's important enough that we do that. So we're going to take action on that. And we're going to be as strict with it as possible. Coronavirus, COVID is not going away. What we are trying to do, I hope everyone knows, is reduce the number of cases so that our health facilities can take care of it. And when you're not on the road at nighttime, I talked with Debbie Wood, State Representative, yesterday, Randy Price, Senator. We were on conference calls and different things with the mayor and councils in the areas right here. We're talking about curfews and different things that could be implemented, could be put into place. But I got the confidence in our citizens and those that live around us that now, as it's hit Lafayette, Alabama, and close to home, and individuals we know, that you're going to take it even more serious than you ever have. And with doing that, we are going to limit the number of cases in this city and in Chambers County. And it takes everyone. It takes everyone doing their part. That's my message today. We could talk about a lot of different things that have taken place. I didn't want to leave out any. You know, our nursing homes have closed to the public. And like I said, our grocery stores and our first responders and our police and those, everyone has come up with a plan. We've met every week. I've updated the council. I've met with the department heads. We're doing everything for our city employees to work as safe as they can, to limit the contact with the public, and definitely clean everything that we can over and over and over again. You can't do it enough. You can't wash your hands enough. You can't stay away from people enough. I'm an old country boy who grew up shaking hands and hugging people's neck. And I had to stop and pause and everything like that. And Lewis was one of the first ones. I was walking the door and I'm coming up to Lewis and he's going the other way. You know, so we're all adjusting our lifestyles. And I don't want to bring up anything personal with me. I have a wife who has MS, who has 2 autoimmune diseases, and if I don't take care of myself, and hey, do you know the hardest thing? We didn't let the grandkids see her for 2 weeks. And it's very limited right now. And I know others that are doing that. We have a lot of healthy people in Lafayette that have been doing too much socializing and going back to their family, their aunts, their uncles, their grandparents, and possibly exposing them. This is not the time to do it. Everything's been extended out. We're using the date now of social distancing and things to April the 30th. Let me tell you this. At 3 o'clock today, something could change. It could change tomorrow. But I have stated in the past that Lafayette is a city that has been strong in the past, is very strong now, and will be strong again. We just have to do this together. I felt like I needed to say something. I hope I spoke for everybody on this council. I've spoken to them individually. I've spoken to our faith leaders, our churches. The way of life as we knew it a month ago and 2 months ago is not the same. And we're adjusting. And one thing that Governor Ivey said, there's not a manual for this. There's not a procedure to follow step by step what to do on a daily basis. We're kind of making it up as we go. And I've had different questions. Different states, different cities, different counties are responding in different ways, but a lot of it's based on the immediate need for what's going on in that city. So I hope all of our citizens take this very seriously and do everything that they can to protect themselves and to protect family members. Thank you. This is the only thing that we had on our agenda today, which specifically for this. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add? I've tried to cover it on behalf of everybody here. If there's not anything else at this time, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting